Okay, in this video I'm going to go through the editing process, and this is sort of a part of this is sort of a temporary process until we have a better way, and that will take a while. But in the meantime, this is the process we're following that's working reasonably well. At the end of the day, after the photos are taken in the studio that day, I download the photos off of the SD card and onto the computer, and then organize them by SKU, each number representing each piece that was photographed that day. So you can see here on this spreadsheet, on the 9th, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces shot. So I organized each set of photos into the folder by SKU number, and then put those into another folder, which is by date, and then put them on the Google Drive so that they can be accessed remotely. Then I put, if there's any strange notes or anything that anybody needs to know, I put them over here in this column. Value is something that Barry fills in whenever he approves the piece. So you can see all these are pending Barry. I put pending Barry there until he has a chance to go through and approve them. And what he's basically doing when he does this is finalizing the name and price of the piece. Before we can list it on our website, we have to have the final name and price of the piece, but they can go ahead and be edited without having that. So, and then editing in progress, I'll show you that one, and then that would be the last column an editor would have to deal with. After that, the listing team takes over, and then they will put it on the website and then put it out to the various marketplaces that we sell on. So what you would start out with is, let's say for 7/9, if you were going to do edit every piece that was shot that day, you could go ahead and put under editing in progress, you could put editing dash Greg, that would be me. And if I want to do all of them, I would just drag this down like that, and then that tells the rest of the team that you have claimed these photos and you are editing them, you are in the process of editing them, and then after you get done with them, you just change editing to done Greg, and then change each one as you go. Change them to done Greg, and now they know that the editing is done and they're ready to be, each piece is ready to be listed on the website by the listing team. But you can only export once Barry has approved the final name. You can edit all you want, but the final export needs to be with the proper name, so what it would really look like is this. It would look like editing Greg, and then whenever I get done with it, it would be edited Greg, and then when I finally when Barry's approved it and I finally exported them, it would be done Greg, just like that. So that's the progression of events, and so let's do one right now for real. I've already chosen this one, this 2021 5060. So I went into our inventory program and pulled up 2021 5060 under items, and then you go to items again, and then you can search up here for 2021-5060. This will come up, and it's this table here. So this is telling me the name right here, and since Barry hasn't approved this yet, technically I could only edit the photos. I would not be able to export them yet, but I happen to know that this is extremely close to the actual final name of the piece, so we could actually go ahead and do that because I happen to know that this is very close to what would be approved, so we could go ahead and do that. I'm going to go back here, 7/9, and then okay. So what I'm going to do is go in here to Lightroom. What I've done is every month we create a new catalog, and we follow a naming scheme. 2021, we do the year dash and then the month. So it's July right now, 7th month, so it's 2021 -07, and then that's the name of my catalog and the folder that it goes in. And now I've got a blank catalog ready to import. So I'm going to import. I'm going to import right off the Google Drive. And that way all my photos stay linked, regardless of whether or not they're on my computer. I'm going to go to Raw Photos, Image Raw Photos. You scroll all the way down to this day. And if you were doing all of them, you just import this entire folder right here of the day. But since we're just doing this one particular piece for this example, I'm just going to import this one particular SKU folder. But in normal cases, if you're doing the whole day, just import the entire folder and it will import all the SKUs underneath that folder. So I'm going to go ahead and I've picked 5060. I'm going to make sure I've got add selected up here, add to my catalog, and then I think we're good there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit import. Okay, I think it's just about done. And it's going to import all the photos for that set, for that piece, including the tag shot, which is the last photo usually, and that is the one that I use whenever I'm grouping them into the folders off of the camera. The tag shot never needs to be edited, so you always skip that. But you just start with the first one here, select it. I'm going to go to the develop mode, and there we go. There's our shot. The first thing I do, I'm going to collapse my presets here. I don't need those. The first thing to do, now notice how there's always going to be the studio. This is vintage furniture, so the studio gets dirty, and it gets dirty fast, and we try to keep it clean, but it just keeps on getting dirty. We try to steam clean it once a week, and that helps out a lot, but it still gets this dirt everywhere, and there's cracks in the concrete that collect dirt, and it's just a pain. So when you're editing, you've got to find a balance between getting it looking good and then but not spending too much time on it. So usually if the floor is not too bad, you can get it done. You can get a whole set of photos done maybe within 15 minutes or less. So anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, depending on what it is exactly and how much work is involved. So the first thing I would do, I went ahead and just out of habit, I changed sharpening amount to 48. That's usually what I use. Just let's do a quick white balance check. I put the eyedropper on the background there, and it slightly changed the white balance, which is more accurate now. So now that we've got accurate color, we go down here to whites. Take the whites and we will move them up till we just start to blow out a little bit of the background right about there. And that was plus 60. Now this is dark. This is like a brown, so we're probably not going to need to adjust the blacks any, but let's just see here. Well, all right, I started to blow out the yellow channel, or crush the yellow channel, however you say it. Right there at about 26, 28. So I'm going to back that off a little bit, move it up. Looks like I can go -15 without being too big of a deal. So I'm going to do that, -15, and then that increased my contrast here on the piece a little bit. So now I've got white point, black point. Don't need any other adjustment. I changed the sharpening to 48, and I've got remove chromatic aberration. We should never have chromatic aberration, but I just check it anyway. And then you enable the profile corrections on the lens, which fixes the little bit of lens distortion. And there we go. Now let's see. Yep, that's it. And that's all for the sidebar. Now the rest of it is hitting Q, opening up your spot removal tool, and you basically get as close as you can to the piece without actually touching it, and start making large brush strokes with your spot removal tool. And then whenever you can, move it up to the white area above so that the spot removal tool takes from the more perfect white background on the wall rather than anywhere on the floor. Now sometimes you just got to take from the floor and that's fine, but whenever you can, take from the cleanest part of the image that you can. And see, this side's already been reasonably cleaned up. Now if you zoom in, you can see this line there and everything, but that's really not a big deal. This is a time when, like, as long as I get rid of this line through here and see, so get rid of that, get rid of this. Okay, now that took from the wrong area, but since I'm zoomed in, I can't fix it until I zoom out, reselect it, and then move this up here, and now it took from a better area. I'm going to go ahead and clean that up a little bit right there. Do that, and then I'm going to make the brush bigger and start to take that out through there. And boom. And then I'm going to go boom through there, move it up there. Just since I've got plenty of white at the top to take from, I'm going to make that brush stroke pretty large so that I can just move that all up there. All right, there we go. Now I could clean this up right through here a little bit better, just a little bit. Just takes a few seconds and it's worthwhile. All right, there we go. Now we went from nasty to not bad, and then all we have to do is the next part would be to do the straighten and crop. So the first thing is straighten. So I'm going to straighten this up to where it is straight across the top there. It just needed moved a little bit. And since this table is roughly just a square shape in terms of cropping, I'm going to change this to a 1x1 square crop. Maybe we'll try this out, and I'm going to shrink this down to where I'm getting more of the resolution of the camera involved here. I'm leaving a reasonable amount of white space on either side of the image, and I think it's reasonably straight, so I'm going to go ahead and crop that. And then let's see, there is pretty much our final image. Now what we can do is go ahead and go to settings, copy settings. And obviously you do not copy local adjustments, you do not copy the transform stuff, which we never use anyway, and you don't copy the spot removal unless the other image. You could if the other image was identical except for like one or two changes, but most of the time they're moving the tripod around, so that you're not going to be able to copy the spot removals, and you're also not going to be able to copy the crop. So you leave all these unchecked, but all the other ones are checked, and then you hit copy. Now I can use the arrow key on my keyboard to arrow over to the next image. There we go. Now I can go to settings, paste settings, and now I can jump right into spot removal instead of doing any other changes at this time. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move that up there. Hopefully this will take from the right area. Okay, it did not, so I'm going to have to hit Q again, go back out, select it, and then move it up to here. And now I can go ahead with the rest of this, hopefully. Here's the challenge. Do I have a place long enough up here to take from? Yeah, looks like I do. Now I'm going to remove this right in through here. Alright, and then start taking out the distracting parts of the floor. This does not have to be perfect, it just needs to be good and clean. It's not really about making it absolutely perfect. That would take too long. It's always possible to make it perfect, but it's not really worth it always in terms of time spent. Alright, now that is reasonably cleaned up. Now I'm just going to make the brush a little bigger and come through here. Hopefully there's a big enough spot over here. Now see what happens whenever you overlap part of the table. You get that down there. So it's trying the best it can to blend things, but you have to make sure you're just taking from the right area there so it doesn't blend darkness in with the floor. There, did that. And then I'm going to clean that up. And, alright. Alright, I'm going to just, lighten that up a little bit. Alright, now this is almost there. This is, I've left a little bit behind here and there, and I'm going to just take out the distracting part, most distracting parts of it. Alright. Alright, this is what I would call reasonably clean now. We don't have a lot of the junk there. See, here's the before, there's the after, before, after. See, it's not perfect, but it is okay. It's acceptable. And without spending too much time on it, like it from a from the viewing distance that most people will be using on their computers and their phone, it's fine. They will not be zooming in really far looking at the, and even if they did zoom in, they can see the piece just fine. Everything's in focus, it's sharp. It's just that, these kind of scratches, these little things on the floor is not worth trying to smooth over. Now we're okay there. Now I will, we've already got our settings pasted. Now it's just a matter of going into the crop. We're going to straighten it, a little bit. It was a little crooked. So everything's always going to be a little crooked. You always have to, getting the straightness right is a big part of this. 1 to 1, and I'm going to just move it over there, or 1 by 1 rather. There we go. There we go. There is image 2. So there we go. First shot, second shot, and then we'll arrow over to third shot, settings, paste settings. There we go. And then you just do the same thing here. You remove all the lines, get it nice and clean, straighten, crop, move on, and you do that all the way through here. And stuff like this would require less editing because you've just got basically right here, right there, and right up here, and maybe take out a little bit of the dark lines there, and you would end up with pretty good. So let me paste the settings there. Yeah, there we go on that. And each one of them would require the same editing. You paste the settings, remove the lines, straighten and crop. And on, not everything's a square crop. Obviously, something like this, what you would be doing is you would straighten it first a little bit. It's a little bit crooked, and then you'd keep the original aspect ratio whenever you can, and then just bring this in, and it would be kind of like that, where you've got a little bit of white. I need to center it a little better. A little bit of white, a little bit of white, and I can't come in too much more on the top and the bottom, or else my sides will come in more. So that would be kind of pretty much where it has to be. So that would be your crop, or maybe move it a little higher. There we go. There we go. That would be your crop after your edits for this particular piece. but I'm going to go back to add shot here. And because you need this white area to help you edit the floor, and helps go a little quicker whenever there's more white up there. You can make longer brush strokes. So you just move through each shot like that until you get finished. And then at the end, you go back to library, and then you would select the first photo, hold shift, select the last photo, and then go to export. And let's see, what's our name here? Let's go to our name. Lane Rhythm Round Dining Table. And we don't put, in this inventory program, we don't put mid-century in the name because it would clutter up the database. So we just put the name like this. So let's assume that this was the approved name that Barry had already given. Where you would insert mid-century at would be right after, this is the brand, this is the line within the brand, and then this is the description, round dining table. So mid-century would go right after Lane Rhythm. Or if there's a designer, it'd be the designer's name for the company name, line name, and then mid-century always goes before the descriptive term. So Lane Rhythm round dining table would become Lane Rhythm mid-century round dining table. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and then go back over here to, now assuming all these were edited, I go select all of them except for the tag shot. You go to export, and then I'm just going to export this to my desktop. But normally you would have a watermark folder and a no watermark folder. So you got to do two different exports, one to each. So this one would go into, let's see, what's the SKU number for this? 2021 5060. So we go to put in sub 2021 5060. Now, if you were doing this, you would do this, put this skewed folder inside your watermark or non-watermark folder on your drive. I always do the non-watermarked export first, then do the watermark one second. So here's our settings. We go to, all right, 2021 5060, and then custom name sequence, and we're going to paste in, we're going to delete that, paste in the name here, and we're going to insert mid-century, and then you got to put, since this is a file name, you eliminate the spaces and put dashes after each word. Round dining table. There we go. Video is never used. File settings, JPEG, small RGB, quality 90. No need to limit the file size. Resize long edge to be 2000 pixels. Don't enlarge. Resolution 240 pixels per inch. No output sharpening. And then this metadata is just all metadata. Remove location info, remove person info. And then watermarking, we uncheck the watermark because this is our export without the watermark. And then you would hit export, and then it would export your edits. And then while it's doing that, you can go back in, hit export again, and then you change your folder to your watermark folder, from your no watermark folder to your watermark folder. I'm just going to keep it at desktop there. And then you would still keep the SKU number the same, but you're just changing the folder with the drop down. And since when you get them in there, you can just flip back and forth really quick to each one. And then name doesn't change because this is just exporting the same thing over again. And in this one, you would add the watermark. So you just check that and add the midcenturywarehouse.com watermark, which is something that I would give you that you just set up in your watermark profile list. And there it would apply the watermark to each exported file with the appropriate name in your watermark folder. So then you would hit export on that, and it would do that. So what you would end up with is a 2021 5060 folder within your no watermark folder and your watermark folder. And it would contain the, the finished images. Obviously I didn't finish editing those, so they're just exported regular. But it would contain those, and then what you would do is take these exported, once you're done with all your edits for the day, you would export them, or you could do it as you go as well. You would go to the Google Drive. Let me just, all right. You go to the Google Drive, and then you go to the current month's folder, which is, this is July, so this is our 2021-07 no watermark, and then there's 2021-07 watermark. So you would just basically open up on the other side of your screen, open up your no watermark folder, and then you would dump those SKU folders into this, and then you would dump your SKU folders from your watermark folder into this one. And then from there, all you need to do is update the spreadsheet. You would put, you would like if it was this one, you would change it. It would have said editing Greg, and then you would change it to, once you've exported them with the proper name, you would put done Greg. So it would go from editing Greg to edited Greg, once you're done editing, but if he hasn't approved them yet, and then it would go to done Greg. Once you've actually uploaded the photos to the Google Drive, the finished edits, then you would change it to done. And then after that, just go to the next one and keep doing that until you are done with, all the photos in either the backlog, which is what we're looking at here, or the new photos for the day that I add down here. So that is how that would work. The whole editing job would work like that. Just repeat it over and over again. And then at the end of the month, you would back up your Lightroom catalog for that month under the Google Drive, under Lightroom catalogs, and then there would be a folder with your name, and then you would just upload your Lightroom catalog to there, and it would be basically these files here. Like, this is the folder I just created as a test, 2021-07. So you would basically upload, well, these two files wouldn't be here if you didn't have Lightroom open. So it'd basically be these three files here that you would upload monthly to your folder here in the Lightroom catalogs folder, and you can just take this entire folder and just copy it over, and that would be fine. It would back it up, and then you can just keep on moving with the current month and just have one catalog every month, and it would work out well. And I think that's it. I think I've covered everything for now. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Thank you.